No, I don't miss Texas at all, not one bit. William J. Maccabee declared emphatically as he exited the Friends Meeting House in Marengo, Iowa. As the police chief of this quiet Midwestern town situated along the peaceful Iowa River, Billy Mac, as his friends called him, had happily left behind his old life in the Lone Star State. Here, he could enjoy the simple pleasures fishing, boating, and being spared the sweltering Texas heat. Most of all, he relished no longer being known as the guy who let them slip away. Strolling the 4 short blocks to his usual weekend haunt, Little Green Sambo's Pancake Paradise, Bill reflected on how content he was in Marengo. As he arrived, he spotted his trusted chief deputy Ella Hemmings already seated, a steaming spinach and tomato omelet atop a short stack of flapjacks waiting for him. Saturdays always meant a leisurely breakfast to discuss the week's events. They made quite the mismatched pair, Ella tall and lanky, Bill short and stout. Ella often joked that if she stood on his shoulders, they'd form a perfect exclamation point. "Another quiet morning, Chief," Ella reported as Bill dug into his omelet. "Just the usual 3 drunks sleeping it off in the tank, and Bob managed to get another flat tire on the cruiser." "Let me guess. Right front tire again?" Bill queried between bites. "Yep, same as always. When he makes those fast left turns, that tire takes the brunt of the centripetal force." "I think you mean centrifugal force, Ella," Bill corrected with a wink. "But please remind Deputy Bob to stop showboating before he destroys the entire front end." Their light-hearted banter was interrupted by the warbling Star Trek chirp emanating from Ella's radio. 10 to 17, 10 to 17, 199 to 101, East South Street, larceny, possibly grand, dispatch crackled.
Ella Said.
10 to 4, copy that. At 30 minutes. The chief has me elbow deep in pancake syrup at the moment. No rest for the wicked, boss? She smirked at Bill. So much for a quiet Saturday. Let's go see what sort of grand larceny nonsense we're dealing with this time. In a burg this size, it's not like there's a heck of a lot to steal anyway. Ambling the short distance to the scene of the crime, Bill took in the unassuming ranch house with its smattering of homey additions. A mudroom, sun deck, carport, even a mini-gym jutting out from one side. The lone sign of mischief was a jimmied window. Ella rang the doorbell and they were greeted almost instantaneously by a blonde, perky, almost past her prime cheerleader type. Something about her seemed vaguely familiar to Bill, but he couldn't quite place it. "Officers, you won't believe what was stolen from me. It's so embarrassing." The woman half giggled, cheeks flushing. Ella took the lead on the interview to spare Bill the task of jotting notes. "Let's start with your name, ma'am," Ella began. "Roberta S. Fletcher. I go by Bobby," she introduced herself. "And brace yourselves because what was stolen was, well, my nipple rings, solid gold barbells, very expensive. Vanished right off my body while I slept last night." Ella and Bill exchanged a surprised glance. This was a new one. "Were you wearing them to bed?"
Ella probed gently.
"Sure was. Flannel PJs buttoned up to my chin. Woke up this morning and the barbells were still in place, but the rings were gone. Searched the whole bed, the bedroom, nothing. I know jewelry can sometimes slip off, but not 2 at once. And there was definitely no, nocturnal activity if you catch my drift. Are you new to town, Miss Fletcher? We appreciate your candor in reporting this," Bill said, trying to mask his befuddlement. "Any chance you have a receipt for the stolen goods?" "Oh, definitely. They were a recent purchase. Had the piercings done at WiJo's over in Des Moines. Came highly recommended by my cousin. Said her whole sorority at Grinnell got inked and pierced there. I'm originally from Oklahoma City myself." "Was there any sign of an assault or break-in, other than the window?" Ella continued. "Nope. No alien fluids or crumbs in the bed. Nothing like that," Bobby replied breezily. "It's like $750 worth of gold rings just vanished into thin air." "Well, Miss Fletcher, you can rest assured we'll do everything in our power to retrieve your property and apprehend the perpetrator," Bill assured her. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. Your report may very well prevent someone else from being victimized." As they made their way back toward the station, Bill turned to Ella, wheels clearly spinning in his mind. Let's have Jim track down our old pal Gumby, buy him a drink at the Elephant's Eye, and keep him there till we arrive. Ella shot him a quizzical look. Gumby? That peeping Tom loser? He's never stolen so much as a candy bar, let alone broken a window to snatch some nipple rings. He wouldn't know a caper if it bit him on the ass. Oh, I know Gumby's not our guy, Bill agreed. But he's always skulking around windows at night. Maybe he saw something. Plus, I want to see his reaction when we mention stolen intimates. That ought to be priceless. Jim radioed in shortly that he had Gumby situated at the bar, Shirley Temple's at the ready on the department's dime. The suspect was exactly where they left him 20 minutes later, blissfully engrossed in the Mets trouncing the Royals. A few casual questions confirmed Bill's hunch. There's no way this small-time loser was suddenly a master jewel thief. Gumby had a rock-solid alibi between his mom, 2 neighbors, and his ability to recount the Mets' blown double play in excruciating detail. Bill tossed him a pack of Camels for his trouble and headed out with Ella. Sorry, boss. Guess I was way off base with Gumby, Ella admitted on the walk back to the station, which locals affectionately referred to as the Corral, hearkening back to its origins in the pre-automobile days of mounted police. How about we kick the ancient computers? Look at you, Deputy Hemmings, embracing 21st century police work, Bill teased. Next thing you know, we'll be getting the Google in here. Let's just hope the records haven't been eaten by the notoriously ravenous station mice. Monday rolled around, and along with Bill's customary bagels, Ella greeted him with a stack of faxes from her buddy at the insurance agency. We've got 8 claims for stolen intimate jewelry over the past 5 years, Chief. 5 of them match our police reports. Looks like another 12 people either didn't have insurance or were too mortified to file an official report. Bill nearly choked on his everything bagel. Well, I'll be damned. What are the chances that many gals are losing their unmentionables and not bothering to mention it? Ella continued poring over the documents. Here's the really weird thing: 3 of the 5 insurance claims list WiJo's as the place of purchase on the receipt. And WiJo's comes up on 6 more of our reports where the victims didn't file a claim. What are the odds of that? I smell a rat, Ella, and it's not the oversized rodents that allegedly ate the case files in the 20s, Bill declared. But unfortunately, it's not enough to bring WiJo in for questioning yet. Can you imagine if we did a door-to-door canvass asking the fine women of Marengo about their intimate piercings? Actually, I have an idea about that, Ella replied, a mischievous glint in her eye. Maybe we send Jim undercover to the Dangerous Curves Gentlemen's Club. Have him cozy up to the ladies, buy them a few drinks, spin a tale about how his beloved wife is considering a risque piercing, and he's wondering if they have any recommendations on where to go. If you catch my drift. Bill let out a low whistle. Deputy Hemmings, you're a genius. A deeply devious genius. If Jim gets 2 referrals to WiJo's, that'll give us sufficient cause to go have a friendly chat with the elusive Mr. WiJo. I'm also thinking we should circle back to Ms. Roberta Fletcher. Something about her story is still nagging at me. If we could get some of her cousin's sorority sisters in for interviews, maybe do one of those fancy statistical analyses to see how many of them have had mysterious piercing vanishings, that could shed some light. Ah yes, those highfalutin hypothesis tests, Ella smirked. And here I thought you slept through stats class at the academy. Ye of little faith, how do you think I made chief? Certainly not on my devastatingly handsome looks alone. Bill clucked. Okay, you work on getting some of those sorority gals in here. I've got a hunch Miss Fletcher will be happy to make some calls once she hears the county budget will cover their travel expenses. After a few days of wrangling, Ella managed to cajole 7 of Bobby's sorority sisters to make the trek to Marengo. She filled Bill in on the good news. 7 interviews lined up for Thursday, boss. According to my calculations, that should be plenty for a solid chi-squared distribution assessment.
Y me impresa, ella.
Didn't know you had a secret passion for statistical analysis, Bill said. I'm glad we'll have a decent sample size. I've got a working theory, but it's unorthodox. Promise you won't laugh. Now I'm intrigued. I swear on my shiny deputy badge, no laughter shall pass these lips. What's the wacky notion percolating in that brain of yours? Bill sheepishly rubbed the back of his neck. Okay, this is going to sound nuts, but hear me out. When I was a kid, I read voraciously. It was either Encyclopedia Brown or maybe Danny Dunn. There was this one story where the solution hinged on something impossible. I think it was a glass of flat ginger ale in the fridge when it should have still been carbonated. Anyway, I can't shake the feeling that we're dealing with some sort of impossible crime here. Vanishing jewelry that was securely fastened. No break-ins. I don't know. It's far-fetched, but I feel it in my gut. To her credit, Ella did not bust out laughing. Her face as stoic as a marble statue. I think you may be onto something, Chief. Definitely has a tinge of the uncanny to it. Let's see what these sorority sisters have to say and go from there. Thursday arrived, and with it, an unexpected detour for Bill. A congregant's father passed away, and he volunteered to help round up a minion so she could recite the proper morning prayers. Spiritual duty fulfilled. He hoofed it back to the corral to find the 7 sorority girls gathered in the erstwhile tack shed. Ella filled him in on the plan she'd conduct the interviews while Bill observed. Any interviewee who had purchased jewelry at WiJo's and was willing to part with a piece would earn an extra Benjamin for their troubles. 3 hours later, Ella emerged triumphant, case notes in hand. Okay, Chief, here's the skinny. 3 of the 7 have had intimate jewelry mysteriously vanish, all purchased from WiJo's. The other 4 are married or live alone and haven't been regularly wearing any flashy underthings. None of them reported a break-in, and as a bonus, 3 of the gals ponied up a piece of their collection for us to examine. Bill snapped on latex gloves and examined the offerings. The first 2 were fairly routine as far as nipple adornments go, solid gold and shaped roughly like barbells. But the third evidence bag contained an odd assortment, 3 small gold pieces resembling the eyelets on fancy sneakers. I'm stumped by these, but let's call in Pat to run some tests. If we're lucky, we won't have to drag the lab boys in from Des Moines. Pat, the station's trusty chemistry grad student turned narcotics expert, popped in a few minutes later, a collection of beakers and petri dishes in tow. Bill and Ella looked on as he measured the density and displacement of the various gold bits, using the Chief's wedding band as a control. "Ha, that's odd," Pat remarked, squinting at his calculations. "Chief, your wedding ring is acting as expected for 14K gold. But these nipple rings? The density is way off. I'd estimate they're less than half the purity they ought to be." Bill clapped Pat on the shoulder. "Nice work, my boy. Looks like we're veering into Scooby-Doo territory with this mystery. Get Sharon from the DSM crime lab on the horn. We're gonna need her expertise." An hour later, the crew welcomed Sharon into the glorified storage closet optimistically referred to as the evidence room. After a round of hugs, handshakes, and general salutations, Sharon got down to brass tacks, arranging her implements on the battered folding table with practiced efficiency. "Okay, you rooks, prepare to observe the power of scientific crime solving," Sharon teased as she pored over the proffered pieces of jewelry. "Grid-scale photos of the goods? Check. Precise weights and measures? Double check. Now watch and learn as I introduce this suspect ring to a pair of industrial bolt cutters." Ella happily played the role of lovely assistant, holding the ring steady in a tabletop vice grip as Sharon positioned the cutters and sliced through the metal in one deft motion. A cloud of rusty orange powder poofed out from the bisected barbell, prompting a round of coughs and curses. "Good grief, everyone mask up," Sharon ordered. "I'm gonna nab a sample of the mystery dust for analysis, then we'll take a gander at a cross-section and see what we're dealing with." With masks firmly in place, the crew peered at the cleanly severed ring. "Well, I'll be go to hell," Bill muttered. "Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Looks to be 3 distinct layers in there." Sharon nodded, snapping pictures from every angle. "Great catch, Chief. We've got what appears to be a core of solid lead, a middle layer of some unknown reddish powder, then a razor-thin outer coating of gold. Just enough to give the illusion of purity and not raise any red flags. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but in addition to your impossible jewelry heist, you've got one whopper of a consumer fraud case on your hands." Bill let out a low whistle as he processed the implications. Luckily, we've got an ace like you in our corner, Sharon. Snag one of the intact rings and that funky set of gold eyelets so you can run a full comparison. With any luck, you'll be able to tell us what that mystery mush in the middle is. 1 week, folks. The mass spec is booked solid till then. I'll be in touch. Sharon breezed out as quickly as she came, evidence bags safely tucked in her kit. The next few days passed in a blur of coffee, paperwork, and speculation. Bill racked his brain trying to figure out where he recognized Bobby Fletcher from. The Marengo crew kept themselves busy chasing down leads and fine-tuning theories while they waited for Sharon's analysis. On day 6, a special delivery from the DSM crime lab arrived via bonded courier. Bill wasted no time gathering the squad and ripping into the fat manila envelope. "Let's see what Santa Sharon brought us, team." "Well, slap my ass and call me Sally," Ella crowed, skimming the lab report. "You were right, Chief. We're firmly in cuckoo land with this one." She summarized the findings for the group. The outer layer is in fact gold, but at about 8 carats. Nowhere near the 14K minimum to be considered real gold jewelry. The inner core is plain old lead, and the magical mystery powder in between, some sort of organic material absolutely teeming with bacteria when viewed under a microscope. Super weird combo of thiobacillus, ferrooxidans, and get this, a never-before-seen strain Sharon is calling Orobacterium maccabeum. Bill felt all the blood drain from his face as puzzle pieces started clicking into place. Just then, the station door banged open to reveal none other than Bobby Fletcher, smiling like the cat that ate the canary.